Group riding lets you meet new people, see new places, and enjoy eating lots of cake during the mid-ride cafe stop. It may seem intimidating your first time, but stick with us and we'll talk you through the basics. When the road allows, you'll usually be riding 2 abreast in a double pace line. This allows everyone behind the 2 leading riders to shelter from the wind until it's their turn to ride on the front. The time each rider spends on the front is usually decided before the ride starts, with an understanding that the tired riders will take shorter turns at the front. The most important technique in group riding is keeping everything as smooth and controlled as possible due to the proximity of other riders around you. Grabbing a handful of brake or putting in a hard acceleration could cause a crash or break up the group, and either way, you won't be winning many friends. While cycling close to other riders can seem daunting at first, it soon becomes second nature due to the smooth, controlled flow within the group. You should have your hands on the hoods or the drops covering the brakes at all times. For your first group rides, you'll want to keep at least a wheel length between your front wheel and the back wheel of whoever's in front of you. When you gain confidence in your own abilities and those of the group, you can close the gap to whatever distance you feel comfortable with. It's also important to make sure you never overlap with the back wheel of the rider in front, as a single gust of wind could cause contact. It may be tempting to look down at the wheel in front, but instead try to keep your head up, enjoying the countryside or looking out for any hazards or signals coming from other riders. Be aware that when riders stand out of their saddle, their bikes will temporarily slow down. It's only a very minor and brief deceleration, but can cause overlapping or even contact. So when approaching a hill, it's a good idea to leave a slightly bigger gap to account for this slowing. There are many different formations used to allow riders to take turns on the front in the wind, but we're going to show possibly the most common and simple technique. A double pace line involves riders rotating either clockwise or anti-clockwise on the front of the group. In this example, we're going to look at anti-clockwise. When the inside front rider has finished their turn on the front, they'll shout or gesture to let everyone know it's time to rotate. Change! And then begin to slow. This allows the outside front rider to move across to take up the position. Change! Be careful not to overlap wheels whilst this is happening. The rider behind then takes up position beside the new inside rider, so they're both at the front. Meanwhile, the rearmost inside line rider will be waiting until the rider next to them has advanced, before gently accelerating and steering into the outside line. Again, you'll want to keep these changes smooth and controlled. If done correctly, the changes in pace are very small and will keep the group flying along at a consistent speed. Communication is key, and it's the responsibility of the front riders to warn the rest about any hazards, corners or junctions. Everyone in the group, all the way to the last rider, should then repeat the call or gesture. You can use a combination of simple hand gestures and vocal cues to signal holes, vehicles or other road furniture. Depending on where you ride, these gestures can vary slightly, but if you're new to the group, then it still might be a good idea to ask before the ride gets going. There's no need to shout at the top of your voice, as this can spook riders and cause more confusion. Remember, the later you leave the signal, the shorter the reaction time. Gentle calling out and subtle hand signals go a long way to help the group manoeuvre and build everyone's confidence in each other. Finally, remember that nothing riles a group up more than a rider who half wheels. This means consistently pushing the pace when you're on the front, so your wheel is always slightly ahead of the rider beside you. This can fragment the group and makes life difficult for everyone you're riding with. Keep your pace even with the rider beside you, and you'll be a welcome addition to group rides the world over.